Hello and welcome back to the Epic Z's. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on 4 different Google apps that you can use on Google Drive. If you haven't used Google Drive before, it's like an online cloud, I guess you could say, of all of your documents, slideshows, stuff like that that you have. So you can access it from any computer, which is very helpful. So I'm just going to start off here. Our 4 apps that we're going to use are Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and Google Drawings. So, like I just did, once I have like a little folder here from my drive, and you can make folders by right-clicking New Folder. You can go up to New here, and then Google Docs. So Google Docs is basically just a word processor. You can like type whatever you want in here. This is a tutorial. You can name it up here, so I could call this like Drive tutorial. So then that's what like shows up here, Drive tutorial. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You can change the font size, different like bold, italics, underline, stuff like that. The color of your text, that is very green. You can change if you want to center it, align it different ways. If you have multiple lines, you can double space. Oops, you have to highlight it all. That's one of the things you have to make sure you're doing, is you have to highlight what you want to change. Otherwise, it'll just change everything from that point on. I think it was at 1.15 by default. And then you can also you can add like numbers, so like just numbered things, and then similarly you can add bullets of different sorts here. It's all pretty self-explanatory. You can also add tables into this, so if you're doing like a science lab write-up or something like that, you could have a data table, so you could have like different data on the side, in different columns to actually be in your presentation. So, and then you could also make this into a graph. I'm not going to do this here though, because I'm going to be doing that in Sheets. I don't really feel like doing it twice. So, and then this is similar to what's over here, except there are a few extra settings like Subscript and Superscript, which are useful also if you're doing a science project of some sort, because when you're writing chemical formulas, you need to be able to, like, if it was different, the equation needed a subscript, then you could add that there. You can also add images. You can link something into the doc. You can add a math equation. You could also add a drawing, which is the Google Drawings I mentioned before. And I'm going to go over that later on when we specifically do the drawing tutorial. And this is the chart to add like a graph, and that's what I said we were going to be doing in Sheets. And if you want to print this, so I'm just going to type in just that standard text again. You can go up to File and Print, or you can just click Print right here. And then that, brings up the printing, and you can print your document from there. There's the undo and redo buttons. Yeah, it's all pretty self-explanatory. One thing I do want to mention, and this applies for all of the like Drive, everything here, you can go up and share. So if you were collaborating with multiple people on here, you could, type in, you could put in their email, and then it'll be sent to their email, and they can open this and they can edit it with you in real time. So as you're editing it, they can also be editing it, and you can see what they're doing, and vice versa. So it's very convenient for group projects, because it's all happening, like you're all working on it at the same time. And you can also add comments, which is similarly useful if you're a group project. And it's also, a lot of times teachers will use this to like give feedback on your work, because then you can like highlight a certain word and then add a comment, and then you can say like, spelled wrong, if it was spelled wrong, and then it's a comment, and then everyone else that this document is shared with can see that comment. And then if you fixed it, spelled it right, then you can click resolve, and it just goes away. So that's part of the reason why I think that Drive, like the advantage of this over something like, Microsoft Word or something like that, is it's very easy to work with other people. Because as far as I know, last time I used Word it's been a while, but it's you just use it on that computer. So if you had a different computer at school, you wouldn't be able to work on your project at school, and you'd only be able to work on it on that one computer that you originally made the file on. So that's what I like about the Drive applications. So that's about it for Google Docs. Next up is Google Slides. I'm going to do next. So again, you can title this whatever you want. Slide tutorial. Keeps giving me this error message up here. I don't really know why. So when you first open it up, it'll give you the option, or at least it should give you the option, to make themes. If it doesn't give you that option, you should be able to just, go to, I think it's insert, nope, where is it? I think if I close this, it'll actually show up. At least I thought it did. It's somewhere in here. Oh, there we go, change theme. Yeah, it's in slide. So then you can get this to pop up. But like I said, it should show up automatically. So then you can change, if you don't want this like boring white background, you can, change it to something a little more interesting. So like if you wanted, I don't know, let's do this theme. Now you can, call this, like, do whatever your title is. By me, I don't know. And then you can add new slides, and they'll all follow this theme. And each theme will generally have like a background, and you'll see like this one adds this little line down here. And they'll have a specific font and font size that go with it. So it's just to, I guess, change the standard white Arial font presentation. So you can just close that. And so this one is similar in terms of typing to, it's basically the same thing as Word, or not Word, Docs. The changing what your text says. You can add shapes if you want to, like if you wanted to add a square or something, like a drawing, you can do that. In slides, you can also add like background, so you could change the background to something else. And this time it's the theme's color, but like if I wanted that, I could change it to that. Or you could choose an image. So this is speaker notes. This is for if you're doing the presentation, you can, type in this. So like if you only wanted to have a few bullets on here, you could then elaborate in here, like just typing in random stuff there. Like, then you'll be able to read this, and you can make it so that it doesn't show up on like the display. Like if you're projecting it onto a smartboard or something like that, you can make it so that this doesn't show up on the smartboard, but it shows up on your computer that you're using to project it on. So then you can read your notes to try to, like, it's essentially like a note card, except an electronic note card. So yeah, and it's the same idea. You could add charts into this. Yeah, and you can do word art, add a video, links. Like you can do like lines and shapes. So if you needed to make some sort of drawing, you can do that. You can also print them. So like then this will print the individual slides, black and white. So you can like print the individual slides as also a type of note card, I guess. So if you wanted to like remember what slide's coming next, you could sort of like prepare for that, I guess. Yeah, so it's again pretty self-explanatory. And the same like I said, comments and sharing work the same way. And when you're ready to actually present this, you can click present, and then it puts it into full screen. And you can either like click to move it forwards, use the arrow keys, and then there's also settings down here. And you can use like a pointer. So if you were trying to like, like show people a specific thing, you wanted to point their direction into an area without having to just say like, look over there, then you can use this pointer. Oh yeah, and this is the way to use speaker notes. So if you had notes here, like here we have notes here, you can like have this separate, like when you actually do your presentation, and it'll also tell you the time of it. So you know if you're like running over time or if you need to, slow down a little bit maybe. So those are all very useful things that you can do, and you can just click escape to get out of present mode. So that's all for slides. Next is Sheets. From my experience, Google Sheets can be one of the more complicated apps that they have. So again, you can just name this, and this is sort of like a giant chart, I guess. So if you had basically, like if you were doing a science project, let's say, and you had like trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, then you could just over here, if this was like, I don't know, distance that something traveled, you could say like 45, 56, and 76. So if like that was your data, these are the trials, this is your data, and then you can highlight it, and then you want to highlight all of your data, and then insert chart up here. It might take a minute. So there. It'll by default put in like this kind of chart. So you'll see we have trial 1, 2, and 3. So we have 76, 56, and 45. So it's basically a graphical representation of our data. And you can customize it. So like if you didn't really want a like a column, you could change it to a line. So there you have like a scatter plot sort of. You could also, if you wanted a pie chart, which isn't exactly the best if you're measuring distance something traveled, I guess, but it's more for percentages. But let's say I wanted a scatter plot. So I want it to just show this. Now, there are a ton of settings. I'm not really going to go over all of them. I'm just going to show you the most important. So you can change the background color. Obviously, for a scientific, like if this was for a science project, you wouldn't want to like choose bright red. But if you wanted to add a slight change of color, that's fine. You can also change the font size. So like if you want it to be a little more prominent, a little more bold, you can change that. Maximize sort of just zooms everything in so that there's less white space. I don't really like it though. I just like it like that. This allows you to edit the title. So for instance, if this was like the distance that something's traveled, distance, I don't know, marble traveled. There. So we have that as our title, and you can again just sort of like, if you wanted to bold it, you can. I think since this is already a larger font, it's already kind of bolded, so it won't do much. But then you can also change, like if you wanted a subtitle, you could do that. Horizontal axis. So let's say this was, our trials. And again, you can change all that if you want. And then vertical is distance in centimeters. So there. And then you can go to like series. So this is basically, it calls like a set of data a series. So it's coloring it. So if you didn't want it to be blue, you could like change it to red if you wanted. You can show error bars, which is like the margin of error for that data. You can have labels that specifically say, so that like here it's kind of hard to tell, like, is this 75, is it 77, 76? So it makes it a little bit easier. You can also add a trend line. So, it's just a line of best fit that shows that. And then, yeah, so, and you can also change, I guess, if you wanted to change the point size, like, or the point shape, like squares instead of circles, you can do that. And thickness, opacity, so like if you wanted it to be very bold there, you can do that. You can add a legend. So that's what this is right there. it's, I don't know. I normally just hide the legend because it's sort of just a circle or a square there, not really doing much of anything. You can make it do stuff if you had it a little bit different. I just don't really find it necessary for most things. And there are a ton of other settings that you can mess with, like settings for the different axes, vertical axis. That just changed, like if you want it to be a logarithm scale, I guess. I don't know. You can also change the grid lines, like right here we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grid lines right here. If you only wanted like horizontal axis, if you wanted like 10 grid lines here, so it's a lot more precise, and then same with vertical axis. If you wanted to make it noticeable, like specifically where this is, then you can do that. And you can even make minor, so like if you wanted one in between it, you can do that as well. And you can change that color as well. And this is actually an updated version. Previously, when I used to do sheets, it was a different like graphical interface, I guess. I like this actually a lot better, so because you can see down here, that's what reminded me of it. It says you can use the old chart editor if you want, but I think this is better. So yeah, and then you have this, so you can just, that's in your thing. So you can just click out of it, and then you have your data, so you can put that right next to it. And then you could even copy this and put it into a doc. So, like if we click on this and then Control C, and then open up our docs, should be able to Control V, and then we'll have our data right here. So if you were making a lab report, you could, use this tool up here, and I think you can even, if we drag that and then copy, and then get rid of this and paste, link to spreadsheet, just paste unlinked. There, then you can have your, I don't know why that's on right or left aligned, but okay. So there, then you can, it's mostly, I think Sheets is, it's useful if you're doing math or science, I guess, because it's, it's mostly used for data and graphs. And the most times I've used it, I think one of the only times I've used it is for like science or chemistry, where you're having to write lab reports and you have to show your data in your presentation. This is a really quick and easy way to, edit it, manipulate it how you want it, instead of just drawing it out. And then, if you screw up, then you have to erase all of it, and it becomes a mess. So I think it's a very easy way. It can be tedious though, as you could probably tell. It's easy to screw up. And there's so many options that there have been times where I'm trying to mess with it and I end up screwing it up. So yeah. And then there are a bunch of other settings you can mess with. I guess you can also print this if you want, like anything else. So if you needed to print your presentation, you could do that. And I guess you could not show grid lines. That way it's not like that weird, all these things right here. So that's Sheets. Next up, I guess the last one we're going to do is Drawings. So you go to New and then More and then Google Drawings. That'll open that up. And it keeps giving me this message about fonts, but I'm not sure why. Okay, so tutorial drawing. Okay, so Google Drawings is exactly what it says. It's basically a way to draw things. So if you wanted to add in a little, like if you wanted to make a table, you could do that. And then I'm going to make this like a brown color. That's not really brown. Alright, there. And then copy that, paste it, rotate it around 90 degrees, expand it a little bit, and copy this, paste it. There. So, you can make little things if you're like doing, most of the times I use this for, we have to do like pictorial procedures or like show demonstrations in our science class. And instead of drawing it out, I normally just use Google Drawings because it's an easy way like to show the lab setup. Because then if you wanted, like if you had a, a Bunsen burner, you could make a little Bunsen burner here, or if you had like a, you know, something like that, and you can show the different setups of things that you wanted to do. It could also, I suppose, be useful like if, for an art class if you're doing digital art. I mean, this is pretty basic, but if you really wanted to, you could, overlap things and use the different things to maybe make a cool art project. Um, so yeah, there's also different equations. There's a bunch of different little things that you can make, little call outs. So like if you're making a comic, you could do like, I don't know, pow. Oops, ultra. Oh, I guess it is an ultra. Okay. I don't know why it's not changing the font. There. Okay. I guess it doesn't. I think that's maybe what the message was saying, is that some of the fonts weren't loading. Not quite sure why it was doing that. So yeah, then you can make a comic if you wanted. You can also draw lines. There are a bunch of different types of lines that you can draw. So like this will make a curve. So if you're trying to make some connection, and once you're done, like you can just keep clicking to make the different connections. And then once you're done, you can just double click, and then it solidifies the line and knows that you're done. You can do scribbles. And the nice thing is once you scribble, it kind of will look like it has edges, but then it'll sort of like curve out once you let go, I guess. So yeah. And then again, you can add images into this. And you can add text with text boxes, but that's really only for like labels, or if you were, doing something like this. Obviously this isn't what you would want to use for like writing something in. So yeah. And then one thing, I guess, all right, never mind. That's not what I was thinking was. Okay. So, and one more thing. This is pretty much all for the tutorial of these 4 apps. But one more thing I would like to mention is that basically this will automatically save everything. So like there have been times in other softwares where I've been typing up something and then all of a sudden my computer dies, or the Wi-Fi goes offline, or my computer just decides to restart, something like that. And then I lose everything, because I haven't saved in like 20 minutes and I just wrote a giant paragraph, which can be frustrating. And this automatically saves everything the minute you do it. So like you'll see once I add in a shape here, it'll say saving, and then all changes saved. And you'll see my interesting drawing here. So yeah, and basically I would use Drive because it saves automatically, which is very useful. It's in the cloud, so you can access it from any computer as long as you're logged into your account. And you can work collaboratively by sharing things and commenting, so it makes it really easy to work with group projects. That's all I have to talk about for the Google applications. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.